Yes, 5,876. That's the number of times that a little play that I wrote back in 1992 has been performed as licensed performances. It's staggering, and no one could have predicted it. Also, yesterday, someone asked me about collaborations. Someone from a drama teachers forum was saying, who have you collaborated with over the years? And I said in the early days, it was very much a one-man band. Later on, it was different. So it was me and the young people. But I explained in the story about Hard to Swallow how I met up with StopWatch. And last year, we made this, which was the DVD of that little production, and I call it a little production, that was written or started to be written in 1992. We made a DVD. It's the first one of any of the professional performances of my plays ever to have been submitted to DVD and kept on DVD for posterity. And I'm so glad that I was able to make this happen. It shows StopWatch at their very, very best, performing the whole programme. So we managed to get a school to agree for us to put the TIE production on video with an audience, in fact 2 audiences, and then also a workshop where you can see an interactive workshop. Now I know for BTEC this is going to be hugely valuable for BTEC students to see a professional group, experienced, after, and they must have done well over 5,500 of those performances, I would imagine, all over the country. So they've really experienced at putting it on, and so this DVD is now available to show that work. And the collaboration was really with these 2 guys. Steve, in the early days, directed the first professional version of Chicken, and Adrian then went on to take over StopWatch, and here they are as bright young things at Oaklands, probably when we were doing Chicken. I would think it was around that time. And they provided a professional input to our little production, because I said to them, I've been given this idea to generate a TIE play, and also this is another thing, my theatre had always been for school productions, so that was the intention of Too Much Punch for Judy. It was never viewed to be a theatre and education piece. It was a school production. Chicken was conceived as a TIE piece. So this is where I became a theatre and education writer, actually trying to construct something for theatre in education. And we were doing a performance that was going to last, I think, probably half an hour back then. And I approached them and said, we've got some road safety companies, organisations coming in. It would be great to showcase your skills after you've done Hard to Swallow and another couple of tours that they've done. Showcase your skills in workshops, which was their speciality. So how about you just add a workshop to our production? Which is what they did. And the workshop now has developed considerably for the one you'll see on DVD. But they did a StopWatch Theatre Company workshop. So that was an association between Oaklands Community School. It wasn't even the youth theatre, it was a Tuesday afternoon group who put it on. And through Steve and Adrian, I managed to meet these people. Where are they? Their name isn't even on here. I can't believe it. Their name must be somewhere. Dawn Boyfield Design Associates, right at the bottom of the page there. Dawn Boyfield Design Associates, DBDA, later they became 10 Alps and then Zinc Publishing, published the very first script of Why Did the Chicken Cross the Road, which has since become just Chicken. This is the 3rd edition. They gave them out to StopWatch to give out on their massive tours that they were doing of plays. They became interested in my plays, and this is working backwards. They produced various versions of the script. This was the very first version that I kind of typed out and produced. It probably isn't the very first version. It's the first pretty sturdy version. And this is me writing one of those, the monologue, the lovely monologue that Chris has towards the end about the funeral. So that certainly, that was a later version of Chicken. So how did it begin? Well, I Too Much Punch for Judy by this point had become very successful, and someone just said to me by chance, if you don't write a road safety play for junior schools, someone will, and they'll do it in your style. So I thought, right, what's the subject that would be most appropriate for junior schools? I thought it would be cycle helmets. This was back in the day, so back in 1991 or 2, I should think. And I then thought, right, normally I research these things. We had to get it on in a rush. I'll go to the local junior schools and speak to head teachers. Each of the head teachers said to me, no, the game of chicken is the thing you want, because that's happening all over our city in Southampton. A game where kids dare each other to cross the road. So what I did with the play, and you can see how it generated itself, it starts off looking like it's going to be a cycle helmet play, and then it suddenly transpires to have the twist, and it becomes about the day on which the cycle had a puncture, and the tragedy happens as a result of a random game of chicken. So very much built up from truthful research, but the story was fictional. My intention was to write it like Blackout, with the students involved in the Tuesday afternoon group, but we ran out of time, so I had to come home and quickly do it, and I did that. I had the confidence to do it, and then significantly developed it because we showed it, the Tuesday afternoon group showed it, and it was booked by road safety people all over the country very quickly, and like Too Much Punch for Judy, and probably more so. It was performed at some point, I think, 6 to 8 times a day, so 80 times a week, here and in Scotland. Some lovely artwork has come out of it. Another problem we had was to create a different accident scene to Too Much Punch for Judy. So we had all those problems and challenges, which we enjoyed meeting. The other collaborations are collaborations with people who were in the cast. So, and this cast, I've got the cast list here. It's a young cast. We can see some quite notable names here. Kirsty Housley, who has since gone on to work at the National Theatre. Carly Wilson, who worked with me with Stop the Traffic, all the productions from then onwards. But the two people who I want to draw your attention to, and these were all Year 9, so this was like Youth Theatre Mark II. They were a brand new group. This young lad, Chris, he was Chris who gave his name and his mum's name to the play, so Chris and Anne. Chris was the guy who helped us, and you'll hear his name come up when we start to talk about checkered flags. And here in Wacky Soap, you can see right at the back, Danny Sturrock. And originally the play was called Dean and Danny, and Danny was the other person who later became Tammy, and Chris became Chris. And Danny became Danny Sturrock, who wrote, amongst other things, Gagging for It and The Wonderful Surfing on Suicide. So they became people who I collaborated with. And so Chicken is a story of collaboration, but it's also quite an amazing story of a success coming out of a little play where we really wanted to have the kind of format of a TIE play. So that opening scene, which my 3 children all had to do as their opening bit in drama when they went to secondary school at Bitton Park, the Tammy and Chris, the rhyming couplets bit, again, Wacky Soap linking in. That whole sequence was one of the first things they did in their drama lessons, which is really strange, and we did your work, Dad, when we got home from school. And Chicken went all over the place. Here's a newspaper article from heaven knows where. But street stars act to save young lives. So this literally went all over. And I never intended after that to write another road safety play, but such was the success of this that Oxfordshire County Council a few years later came back and asked me to write a third road safety play. And then something happened to the real Chris Guilfoyle that led to my fourth and final road safety play, Checkered Flags to Checkered Futures, which is featured, we come back to the video, which is featured on this DVD as a bonus extra, so you can see that as an extra. Chicken has been probably the least celebrated but most successful play, and it does clearly show how collaborations can work.